Now that we are done with the features of both products, let's get on with the actual testing of the products. And we are going to have two categories here. Each category has several, in fact, each category has 5 different points on which each product will be tested and earn a score. The first category is going to be design and manufacture, and the second category, which is going to be the most important one after all, is going to be fit. Now, let's start with design and manufacture. The durability, which is really important because remember, socks are exposed to constant friction with the fins, and they are probably the one piece of clothing gear that we use underwater that gets exposed the most to friction and wear, and tear and wear. So the durability of the Zero socks, although this is something that should be tested on the long term, we ascertain it to be very high, and that is related to the construction method. Let me turn one of them inside out so you can see. We can see that we have a lot of panels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different panels, 6 different panels, and all of them are double stitch, properly double stitch and properly ended. And on the inside, we can see that the panels actually are double stitched on the outside, but on the inside, they are hot glued and they are properly terminated so that the stitching does not come in contact with the skin on the inside. Furthermore, right here on the back where we have a reinforcement panel, we can see that it's actually properly covered right here so that it doesn't bother the skin. And so this is the area of highest friction. This area is properly protected from any kind of tears or rips. And I can tell that they are extremely well built. There are no false stitches on the seams. They are all extremely well made. And the gluing is of really high quality, okay? So in durability, we're gonna give the Zero socks 5 points out of 5 possible points because of how well built they are. I know you're wondering, what in the heck am I doing? Well, did you actually wonder something else too? Why are these socks, the DYN socks, made of that thermoplastic fiber? What is the deal with that? What is the advantage? Why? Well, here's why. In fact, these socks bear a category 5 cut resistance level. And what that means is very simple. This material can withstand extreme amounts of cutting effort applied to it. And if you do not believe it, let me show you. Now, category 5 or level 5 is usually the equipment that is made from substances like Kevlar and is used by people in industries such as meat packing plants where heavy blades are operated, glass factories, etc., etc. This is professional grade. This is way beyond the tear and cut resistance capabilities of most equipment out there used in amateur fields. But you can already start to see how something this resistance can be so useful. And so in terms of durability, besides how well constructed they are, you can see that the socks are going to earn the maximum score, which is 5 points, no doubt. The second category, it's going to be the presence of a non-slip sole. This is really important because before we get in the water, most of us are bound to wear the socks to walk in a variety of surfaces, from sand to rocks to pebbles on the bottom until we can put our socks on, to more importantly, surfaces like the deck on a boat, on a dive boat. Let's talk about the non-slip sole right here. As we can tell, right at the bottom, the Zero socks have a panel that is further covered or terminated with a nylon lining. This nylon lining actually has a sort of like rough, rugged surface, if you can hear that that prevents it from slipping in very smooth surfaces. The non-slip surface on the Zero socks works relatively well on rough surfaces that where basically the slippage is not so much of an issue, but it doesn't work so well on flatter surfaces. And so for that particular reason, we're gonna give the Zero socks on the non-slip sole point 4 out of 5 possible points. Now, for the DYN socks, the non-slip surface, this is actually an excellent feature of the socks. Now, it is due to several factors. The thermoplastic fibers are already on their own very non-slippery. On top of that, there are these strategically placed rubber granules, if you will, these little spheroid things that have been glued onto the soil of the sock that greatly increases the non-slip properties of the socks. And if you notice, a cute little detail is that they are made in the shape of the C4 logo, which, by the way, do not bother the sole of the feet at all. These socks have a really, really good non-slip characteristics, among the best that I have seen. And so for that particular reason, the DYN socks get 5 points in the non-slip department. Now, the third point in the design and manufacture area will be reinforcement on high friction areas. Now, this, again, it's really important. Remember, when the sock goes inside the foot pocket, okay, there will be certain areas that are gonna be in constant friction, even if this friction or the motion between the two surfaces is greatly diminished or eliminated. And in fact, it's not completely eliminated at all. And so a sock that is properly built is going to have a certain reinforcement in those areas, not only to protect the skin underneath, but to prevent unwanted motion or slippage inside the foot pocket. These areas in particular are this front area right here is going to cover the toes and the part that connects the toes to the fin, and the part that connects the toes to the foot. And this area, because of being the one that on the upstroke, that is the part of the stroke where we are displacing water with the top part of the blade, that puts a significant amount of pressure on this front part of the foot. And Zero socks have a panel here that is actually of extra thickness with a nylon lining to provide extra cushioning and also to prevent any kind of friction from damaging the toes, especially since, as we all know, most foot pockets have an open area right where this particular part of the sock would fit. So that open area, that edge right here, usually tends to create a lot of friction and damage. And the most important point, the most important reinforcement point of all would be right back here, because again, as we all know, that is the area where the highest amount of friction between foot and foot pocket occurs, right here where at the back of the heel. And we know it because this is the area where most foot pockets are reinforced to prevent the rubber and the foot pocket from not collapsing. Like in this case, you see there are no rough edges here. So this is a kind of rubber that, although hard, is well finished without any sort of rough edges or seams. Still, it's going to create a lot of friction and has the possibility for really damaging the skin above the heel. And the Zero socks do an extremely good job at providing this nylon lining here on top of that area, and do an even better job from going all the way up right here, because the truth is that some socks have this sort of reinforcement, but they have it too low and does not cover the skin that goes right above this finishing part of the sock. So if we look right here at the Zero sock, we can tell right there that this reinforcement area protrudes or comes out well above the edge of the fin, which is really important and a well thought out feature, because this particular reinforcement panel here wouldn't be of much help if it finished inside or under the edge of the fin. And the particular point of reinforcement of high friction areas, the Zero socks get 5 points out of 5. Excellent job right there. Reinforcement on high friction areas. You know, we need to remember that these socks are not really made like a neoprene sock to be used as a sort of a barrier between the foot pocket and the feet. If friction is a problem for you, then these socks are probably not the ideal candidate. But I have to say that in testing these with foot pockets that I have that are sort of large and my feet tend to wiggle inside, the foot pockets that are loose on me, I found the properties of the socks themselves to be very protective against friction. However, there is no protection on the front area of the toes in particular, and that could be an issue. I felt the pressure there. Had I worn this for a longer time with those loose, somewhat loose foot pockets, I think that this could have become an issue. And even C4 understood that these socks need a reinforcement right here, right on the area of higher friction, which is right on the back of the heel. The issue with it is that as well intentioned and as well designed as it is, or as well built as it is, it's actually both glued and sewn right there. It's the fact that it's very low, and in most cases it actually ends right before the area where the problems tend to happen. So this is really of not much protection at all. Again, I understand that this is not the main purpose of these socks. However, I'm gonna give them all only 3 points out of 5 because they don't really perform that well there. The next feature in the design and manufacture category would be the seals of the sock. And what do I mean by seals? Well, right here at the end of the sock, right where our foot goes in and the sock comes above the ankle right here, ideally, we should have a seal, and a seal is going to be a type of material or surface that prevents water from coming inside the socks. And I'm going to get an older pair of socks that we have from before, including one that is about 20-some years old to something more modern, to really compare against these newer socks. We have a different type of neoprene that it's a little bit more impervious to water penetration, that is a little bit more flexible, okay, than the older neoprene used on the rest of the sock, which allows it to sort of contour better to the size of the ankle and the lower leg, and further prevents water from coming in, as well as allowing us to fit either the pants over this area, the wetsuit pants over the seal area, or at the very worst, in this very old sock that is about 30 years old, you see we have a finished surface right here that also acts as a seal, and that at least this particular seam right here, this termination right here, will protect the neoprene of the sock from wearing out from all the stretching that the socks goes under. Now, the Zero socks, this is not exactly a seal per se, and so that it's a low point in the design of this particular product, because this area will be the one that will start breaking before the rest of the socks will, and will allow water to come into the sock, which is not desirable. I should give it a 3 out of 5 because really there is an absolute absence of a seal here. Now, when we talk about seals, again, we have an issue with the socks, yes, because they are not made of neoprene. We're not gonna find a higher area on top made of a different material that is either open cell, you know, with more adhesion, you know, more waterproof capabilities. They do have a little seal here that is somewhat more elastic than the rest of the socks. I can tell that this seal is not exactly made of the same material, the thermoplastic of the sock, so I don't know if this in particular is cloth. It's not much of a seal in the sense that it's not either high enough and does not even cover the ankle bone in many cases. So in this particular area, again, because of the insufficient amount of protection from the existing seal, I'm gonna give the socks only 3 points. Next point is going to be height. It is important for this leg area of the sock to come up relatively high, not to come very short like many socks do nowadays and actually leave an area exposed between the bottom of the leg of the pants on the wetsuit and the top of the sock. Any kind of space that we leave open there not only leave that area of skin unprotected from cold, which is less important because of how little surface area is, but I can tell you that in warm waters like the ones that I dive here all the time, any kind of exposed skin, it's an invitation to jellyfish, stingers, and many other urticants that populate these waters for the majority of the year. And for that, we need a height over the ankle, over the actual ankle bone that is at least a good 3 inches of about 12 centimeters above the ankle bone. The socks, the zero socks, have plenty of height in that particular case. Now, let's talk about height. Again, as you can see, these socks barely go over the ankle area right here. Again, they are meant to be worn like that. These are not meant to be as protective as regular neoprene socks. But for a diver that decides to use this as the main socks that he or she will use, this again may be a problem because again they don't have enough height not only to reach to the area where the pants of the wetsuit would come, but also because sometimes they may even actually leave, like I said, the ankle bone exposed. Another area in which the socks only score 3 points out of a possible 5. The last point in the design and manufacture category would be the overall quality. And I can tell that from the design, from the careful construction, the use of both double stitching and hot gluing, protection of blind seals, to all of the other aspects, the nylon linings used in specific areas for reinforcement. I can tell that the zero socks are extremely well built and earn top marks for overall quality. So 5 points out of 5. Overall qualities for the socks. Well, irrespective of all the shortcomings that we have seen, the overall quality of the socks, it's outstanding. They are extremely well built. They are very well sewn. I don't see any areas of the socks that are uncomfortable, that are not done properly. The stitching is first grade. You cannot even see it, but for sure it's there. And I don't know how the socks are gonna stack up to prolonged use yet, but they are very well built and I don't foresee any problems coming from the overall design and manufacture. So on overall quality, the DYN socks get 5 points out of a possible 5.